So, former friend and fellow YouTuber Princess Plunder has been all but radio silent towards me. I've been unable to contact them in any way. They've been refusing even to take anything that even remotely appears like a message from someone else to them, which is basically at their discretion because they don't know what I would say, as clearly indicated by the message that they sent me where they said, don't you dare try to say, but actually, da 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 da, basically discounting any chance of me explaining my side of the story or any motive that even remotely disagrees with the narrative that she's decided to believe. As if, the world really is that black and white, that, you can't derive even any or remotely any truth from someone you're morally opposed to's side of the story or position. And so that's the dynamic at play here. They will not listen to me in any way, shape, or form, even if it seems like they think someone else is trying to say something for me, which, like, I don't even know how you would be able to tell that. Like, if someone communicates something to you, it's probably because they think that thing about the situation, not because I told them to say it. But, when you're operating on the world is either totally black or totally white, these are the bizarre lengths you will go to preserve your ideology. So I make this video in an attempt to give my side of the story on events that played out between me and my ex, many of which I strongly regret insofar as the behavior pertained to myself. I did things that were very bad by my own standards. However, the things that I'm being accused of by those parties involved, I mean, I say involved, but it's really only one other person that was involved with this, which is my ex. Plunder is just pretending like she had something to do with this. And then acting like she has the context or the perspective to make a judgment about it. So, what exactly am I being accused of? Well, in the message that Plunder sent me, she claimed that I had abused this individual for over 7 months that we were together, which in itself I find the claim already kind of bizarre because we hadn't even had an argument until my first trip to Boston, which was in like late July. We had been dating since late May at that point. That was the first argument we ever had, and it wasn't even that bad. It was just kind of normal, like, couples arguing over whether or not you're going to come to get me from the hospital. Like, the sort of natural things that end up arising when you're intimate with someone. I keep putting my hand on the wheel and playing with it as I talk to you about this. So it was fairly innocuous, and I don't think there was another argument for that whole month. And then if you look at, like, the month following it, August, and was it July that I went to Boston? I think it was either June or July. Either way, there was no arguments in whatever month that was following that trip. There was a few in August when I had went on a trip to Germany, but again, fairly innocuous. Like, I was very, very respectful in spite of the fact that he was disrespecting me, and generally being kind of unknowingly unfair. and it was very upsetting. Um, but I didn't abuse him in light of those events. Um, it was just sort of like a difficult thing on a human level. That was August. Um, Now we get to the months following these months, and this is when I start doing things that I regret a lot. Um, Name calling. Um, I'm just going to admit to all of it right now. Um, Being generally unsympathetic to his plights, his struggles. Um, Now, there were a lot of times when I was doing the exact opposite of that, when I was being incredibly patient, probably too impatient, almost, or patient, almost to the point of like enabling him. Um, but I would kind of oscillate between those two because it was difficult for me to understand a lot of his reactions to what I considered to be like fairly commonplace events. Um, and I felt like I had to be actively patient, to like actively try to choose my words in order to um, say like the kind and understanding thing, which is what I wanted to say, because I thought that was the morally right thing to do. But intuitively, like I would think, like this guy's kind of just being a fag, like he's kind of just being a coward, like get over yourself, which is not a good thing to think about someone. I acknowledge that, and I don't think I ever actually said anything to that effect until the very last day that we spoke to one another. Um, that was the time I called him a coward, which was, that was a terrible thing to say. But I said that maybe once, and that was only at the very end. Now, the other insults that I had thrown weren't exactly nice either, but they weren't as bad as that. And it wasn't something that was occurring on a regular basis. Like, there was no precedent for me doing this. Um, it was the vast majority of the time was us enjoying one another's company, or at least I was enjoying his company. I have no idea what he thinks about any of this. I'm not going to speak for him. I'm not telling you what to believe. But that was the impression I got. And I was generally, being nice. Um, Now, objectively speaking, there were some abusive things that I did, like throwing insults. You don't throw insults to someone that you love. Um, you don't yell at someone you love, which are things I did a couple times. Um, you don't do these things. These are not the right thing to do. And I could get into a big explanation about all of the stress I was under, the mindset I was in, how I was kind of acting out and lashing out at everybody. Not lashing out at Plunder, never did a single bad thing to her during all of this. Just want to make that clear. Um, but I did do bad things to my ex, which Plunder somehow sees as reason enough not to talk to me. Um, and that was basically the extent of what I did. I can't really think of anything else that might be of concern. I was never physically abusive. I was never really trying to gaslight him, which is something that she accused me of doing. I don't know where the evidence for this is. I would love to see the evidence for this claim, but it doesn't seem like there is any. Um, all of these accusations came out, and I have not seen a single screenshot be shared from anyone to substantiate these claims. All of the claims being made against me are completely unsubstantiated because the evidence for the claims does not exist. You can't defend a point of view that is necessarily based on falsehoods, and that's why they don't defend it. They refuse to talk to me. I have the receipts, I have the facts. I am willing to make myself look bad by sharing the screenshots where I said and did bad things. I'm willing to show you, because I think when you compare that to the claims being made against me, it doesn't look anywhere near as bad as what's being said about me. But these people don't want to talk to me. They refuse to even entertain the possibility that I may have something even remotely useful to say. And so, as a result, I have to do this. I have to announce all of this on a public forum in the vague hopes that perhaps one of these people will come across this video and they'll watch some of it and then consider, maybe I'm wrong about this thing. Maybe I'll go talk to this person. But as of now, this is all I can do. I don't really know what else to do. You know, and you could say, oh, just don't engage with it. They're not worth your time. And it's like, yeah, if you're willing to ghost me over something like this and then basically claim that I'm never going to change or improve myself or whatever, and then label me as manipulative and abusive. Once again, no evidence for that besides the emotional abuse that I just admitted to through insults and such. Like, if you're going to do that, you've basically dismissed everything a person could say before they even said it. Like, I literally attempted suicide in light of all of these events after having been told that I'm not going to do it. Now, I never threatened suicide to anyone. From what I can tell, that was one of the claims that was being made against me, that I was going to threaten suicide. I never did that. But I did try to kill myself in a park, and then I was admitted to a mental hospital. Okay. Well, I didn't announce it to anybody. Like, how is that any of your business? That sounds like a cry for help from someone who's in a lot of pain. I don't know, man. Did people make mistakes when they're this age? And I'm not saying that I'm entitled to forgiveness, nor am I saying that I'm entitled to anyone talking to me. But it's certainly a little odd that Plunder specifically claims to know so much about that situation with that other person when they've been unable to bring up a single screenshot, a single modicum of evidence to support their claims against me, and then use that as the impetus to cut me off entirely, to not talk to me at all, and to accuse me of basically libelous claims. Like, what they did was an assassination of my character, based on deliberate falsehoods. And, you know, I don't know what else to do besides this. Like, I didn't do anything to Plunder. I made some mistakes in a naive, sort of inexperienced relationship. Mistakes I regret, that I've apologized for time and time again. But I never did anything to her. Like, that's what's bizarre to me about all of this. I never did anything to her. The whole time we had been talking, it had been peaceful, it had been nice, was never mean. I didn't do anything to her, so I don't know why I deserve all of this wrath from her. especially, when it comes to basically insulting me and assassinating my character. Like, I, what did I do to deserve that? What did I do to deserve you saying that I'm like not a real suicidal person or whatever? Just because I said that I wanted to do it at the time, and then I tried to do it uh, without ever mentioning it to him, never announcing it to him. Um, like, he did not know I was going to try to do this. So, what's the angle here exactly? Um, there wasn't a single time in our relationship that I said something like, my life is like tied to you. Like I'm gonna off myself if you go or something. I never said anything like that. And the reason I never said anything like that was because that's the kind of stuff my dad used to say to my mom. And I didn't want to put someone else through the kind of coercion that she went through that I had to witness growing up. Um, and also, it's just not advantageous to do that. Like, if we think of this from a purely selfish, like self-motivated, self-preservationist perspective, you're going to push people away from you by doing stuff like that. Maybe some especially weak people will stay around for a bit longer because they feel like they have an obligation to you, when like that's not really how it works. But some people are just that weak. And so these kind of tactics work on them, but they never work forever. Like, it's always a short-term solution. If you really want to keep the person there, you got to be nice to them. You have to consistently be nice to them, make them, feel good about themselves, inspire them in some way, like, show that you're not too attached, like that you can improve their life in some way, that you provide some kind of material benefit to them by being with them. And then it becomes like a give and take thing. That's how you keep people around. You don't keep people around by just taking and taking and taking, and then being like, oh, if you go, I'm gonna off myself. Here's this huge burden of responsibility you have. People don't want that burden of responsibility. Like, you're just gonna push them away by posturing like that. And so, from a purely self-motivated perspective, it just makes no sense. Like, why would I do that? Um, and the answer is I wouldn't. And once again, they have not been able to bring up a single shred of evidence to substantiate these claims against me, because it doesn't exist. And it's really ridiculous that the only way I can get out my perspective on this whole thing is just by doing this. You could say maybe you shouldn't have made a video at all. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have, but I've been wanting to get this off of my chest, and maybe, just maybe, she'll see the video and she'll be willing to put up with like 19 minutes of this shit, and contact me to talk about this like adults. Because it was a hard situation. I regret what I did, but ultimately it wasn't as bad as the things I'm being accused of. And you can agree or disagree with that on the merits of the evidence, but let me show you the evidence. Let me share my side of the story, and you can come to your own conclusions about that. But don't go around making baseless accusations and then cutting off what you used to refer to as your best friend, just because there are these baseless accusations floating around, without even giving them a chance to explain their perspective. Not to say you have to agree with their perspective, but at least give them a chance to share it. I think that's just a common courtesy when you've known someone for as long as I've known you. Um, it was like 5 years we had known each other when you said all this, and then poof, all gone. I think especially given the fact that I did not do anything to you, that's unfair. And I do think I am entitled to at least being able to explain my side of the story. Now, I'm not entitled to you talking to me. Free association, no one is bound to anybody, and anybody should be able to talk to whoever they want to talk to. There's no moral precedent on that, but I feel like it's just a matter of courtesy that I should at least be able to share my side of the story on all of this, and you can come to whatever conclusion you want to about that, but at least come to a conclusion on the merits of the evidence.